let's explore possible returns for the Libra. Now, a lot of things would need to go right for the projections that I'm going to discuss, but let's look at this as a possibility. There are two types of tokens when it comes to the Libra. The first one is the one that everybody has been speaking about. This is accessible to the general population. And the other one is the Libra investment token. And that's the one that members of the association, the ones that are committing $10 million, are going to get. Now, the general population token, the cryptocurrency, there's going to be no interest paid in that. Much as if you exchange currency at an airport for dollars, there would be no interest paid on these dollars. Now, for the investment token, there will be interest paid once operating costs for the network were covered. So if we take here a very simple scenario and we consider $100 turned into Libra, and if we assume $100 put into Libra, and we assume a short-term government security such as the T-bill here and at a yield of 2.125, that would earn $2. Now, the types of expenses that would need to be covered by the associations for operating the network would be the operating expenses, investments, and promotions. As this network gets going, there's going to be a need to incentivize users, to incentivize small businesses, to incentivize the entire ecosystem. And there's going to be some expense that will be required for that. There's also going to be a need to do research, to look at questions of security, to look at questions or performance, to look at questions of additional features that might be added to this platform. And there's also going to be some grants that are made for nonprofits, for educational institutions, to expand the reach and the inclusion for those that are part of this platform. Now, once these expenses are covered, the rest would be distributed to members. So let's take as an example the US economy. And the US economy has two major groups. The first one is the M1, which includes cash, coins, and money in checking accounts. And that is 307 trillion at the moment, with a population of 329 million. M2 is much larger. It includes M1 plus saving accounts, money market funds, and the other items you see here. Now, let's consider the case of M1, and let's assume that Libra has been successful and there is adoption in good percentage, let's say in this case of 10% of M1. So if we consider that 3.7 trillion at 10%, that would give us 370 billion. And if we take the operations costs of the network with all of the expenses that we mentioned at 1 billion, and the investment token sales, this is the $10 million membership that 100 organizations are going to pay to be part of the Libra Association. That is the investment token sales of 1 billion. So at these numbers and the T-bill that we consider holding that yield, we'd get 370 billion at 2%, minus the operating expenses, we'd have 6.9 billion, which would mean an ROI of 686%. So for that $10 million investment for 1 year, that would be a yield of 68 million, 68.6, and for 10 years, 686 million. So obviously very attractive numbers, and obviously this is a hypothetical predicated on the network being successful, on there being good adoption. But for the sake of discussion, let's consider M2 to look at even bigger numbers. So in this case, if we think that Libra is successful and there has been a significant adoption, and we put that number at 15%, we see now that the 14 trillion of M2 becomes 2.2 trillion. That is the 15%. We leave the investment and the operation costs at the same. And we, again, consider the short-term government security yields at 2%, 2.125, with the same expenses. And we see there that we get 45 billion. So that's an ROI now of 4,500% for the association members. For Those that committed 10 million, you can see there that the return is 450 million, and for 10 years, that's now 4.5 billion. Obviously, very attractive, obviously predicated in many things going right. And this is a very big if, but if things work out, this could be some of what we see. Now, if we consider this to the world, or if we extend this type of numbers and logic to the world, and we put global adoption at 25% of M2, or US M2, we can see here that the numbers get even bigger. And without running through all of them, you can see there that the ROI down at the bottom of the page is now at 7,500%, which is huge. And you can see there that the return that is coming back is already bigger than the bigger commercial banks, or if not, within a very close proximity. So this obviously for the 10-year investments would yield even bigger numbers. And in general, this could seed a market that would provide many other opportunities. So the opportunity for trustless, tokenized, collateralized assets and derivatives as a marketplace could be enabled by this platform in that reserve and those returns. And so there's a lot more that could be enabled by the success of this platform. But this is just an exploration of some hypotheticals and some possible returns on this platform.